Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is the triangle offense the best thing that ever happened to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro premium platform that we're launching next week, and be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com, which we're launching at the end of this month. So anyway, let me get into the topic here. This is a pretty interesting topic for me that I've been planning to do, and now I think is the best time to do it, given the fact that the Clippers have played a good amount of games so far. I mean, a good amount of games. They played at least 5-6 games, so I can have a kind of a better sense of how this offense is working with this team. Now, this year, going into this year, the Clippers decided that they wanted to do things a little bit differently. Last season, they had a different head coach. They had some different players, and they were kind of running a different type of offense. It was a lot more isolation dominated. Players would just, the ball wouldn't really move around as much. And, it was just a lot of one-on-one basketball, which sometimes got them in trouble. But with the addition of their new head coach, Tyronn Lue, who decided that, hey, listen, I want to do things a little bit different this year. He decided that he wanted to implement the triangle offense. Now, some people may be wondering, why would Tyronn Lue implement the triangle offense? Well, Tyronn Lue played under head coach Phil Jackson. He was part of the Shaq and Kobe Lakers when they were out there three-peating, right? He's a student of that offense. He played under Phil Jackson, right? And it's a popular offense, but it's not used by many teams. Really, it's only Phil Jackson teams that seem to focus on using the triangle offense. And it was something that really started with the Chicago Bulls back then when they had Doug Collins and Tex Winter, who was the architect of that offense. He was the one that was really showing Phil Jackson just how lethal of an offense it could be. And eventually, when he got the head coaching job with the Chicago Bulls, he implemented that offense with Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan stopped leading the league in scoring, and all of a sudden he started winning championships. So there must be something to be said about this particular offense. And that offense has led to 11 NBA championships, 6 with the Chicago Bulls and 5 with the Los Angeles Lakers. So I think it's a pretty good offense, given the fact that it's had so much success, but also it has to do with the type of players that you have within the offense, which I'm going to get to. But that offense is pretty much predicated on ball movement and player movement. That's one of the precincts of this offense, and that's one of the things that makes this offense allows it to function at a high level. It allows teams essentially to be able to swing the ball from side to side to pretty much facilitate higher percentage shots, but also to keep the defense off balance, right? If the ball is only sticking on one side of the court, then defenses can game plan for you a lot easier. But if the triangle offense, if players are always moving and the ball is always moving, it always keeps the defense on a swivel, which allows players to get higher percentage shots. And that's pretty much what you're seeing. But it also allows players to touch the ball more. When everybody's touching the ball, for some reason, it allows them to stay engaged. If players go down the court for a number of possessions without actually touching the ball, then some players tend to disengage from the game. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're scoring, but passing the ball, staying involved, makes you feel more part of it. It feels like you're more part of the game as it's happening, because you're playing within the flow. Of the offense. It also requires that you have players that can actually play out of the post, which is now where I'm going to get towards the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George part. Kawhi Leonard is an exceptional post player, right? And they're using him similarly to the way the Lakers used Kobe Bryant and the Chicago Bulls used Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, for a good, especially from the second half of his career, for that second three-peat, played exclusively out of the post because he was the best post player in basketball at the time. Y'all know the famous fadeaway, right? MJ had the fadeaway. He had the mid-range jumper, but also he could read the defense pretty well because he was a nice size. He had a lot of good size at his position at 6'6" as a shooting guard. So he had good size to him, so he could actually see over the defense. So when MJ was playing in the post, you saw him like really facilitating out of the post. He could actually split double teams pretty well, which is something that you see Kawhi Leonard do at other times. But Paul George can also play out of the post too, because he has a great post game and he stands at 6'8", but he's a threat from the he's a threat from the triple threat position, because he can either score on you, facilitate, he can play with his back to the basket. So it's a luxury that this Clipper team has. And if you think about Scottie Pippen with the Chicago Bulls, Scottie Pippen was not the scorer that Paul George was. Now, Scottie Pippen is maybe a better playmaker, but he wasn't the scorer that Paul George was. So it gives the Clippers an additional threat from the from the post. Also, it eliminates the need for a traditional point guard, right? That's been one of the things that's been one of the points that has been belabored in the offseason and even early in the season by some analysts and some critics of the Clippers. You need a point guard. Where's your point guard? Who's going to put your players into the offense? Who's going to get your guys into the offense? Well, if you understand the triangle, if you understand some of the things I just explained, it eliminates the need of a traditional point guard, right? Because if you look at the point guards that have ran that offense in the past, you think of a Derek Fisher, you think of Ron Harper, you think of a Tyronn Lue. These are not Chris Pauls or Rajon Rondos or Stephen Curry type point guards, but these are serviceable point guards that are pretty smart, that understand how to run the offense, right? And it seems like it's allowing the Clippers to kind of eliminate the need of a high level point guard. So that's one of the other things that it brings to the table. Now, so far this season, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are averaging a combined 11.8 assists per game, almost 12 assists per game. If you compare that to last season, they were averaging 9.4 assists per game. So they're almost up they're up two more assists per game this season, which means that the ball movement is there. Paul George is averaging like over 5 assists per game, and Kawhi Leonard is averaging over 6 assists per game. And it's not like as if they're just like passing the ball for the sake of passing the ball. It's coming within the flow of the offense, and you're seeing a lot of players get a lot of good looks, like the Serge Ibaka's, the Nicholas Batums. These guys are getting a lot of clean looks at the basket, at the three, and in other spots on the floor. Now, the Clippers overall are averaging more assists per game this season. Given granted, it's still early. They're averaging about 24.7, let's say 25 assists per game. To last season, they were averaging 23.7. But this year, the assists are coming from a different place. It's coming within the flow of the offense, right? So different players are actually facilitating easier scoring opportunities for their teammates. Now, last night, they lost to the Utah Jazz, but they missed a lot of easy shots, like a lot of makeable shots in that game. They missed like a lot of them, and they could have easily won that game if they hit more shots. They just didn't, and they lost the game. But they got a lot of great looks at the basket last night. It's just that they couldn't convert on a lot of those attempts. But the offense has been really a godsend to these guys, and I think it's working out really well for them, because, as I said, everyone is staying engaged in the game. It's not this kind of thing of like dribble. One guy has the ball in his hand, he's dribbling at the top of the key, and everybody's on the corner just watching him dribble. No, it's not that type of offense. This type of offense is actually more fun to watch, and I think is going to help these guys gain more confidence as the season goes on, because everyone is going to have an attempt to score, right? Everyone on the floor is a threat, and the Clippers have a pretty versatile starting lineup. I mean, given the fact that they don't have Marcus Morris Sr. yet, and I don't know when he's coming back, but when they have him in the game and you're running this type of offense where every single player on the floor, from your point guard all the way down to your center, can hit jump shots and hit threes, I think it's going to be a pretty difficult offense to game plan for. So for me, so far, I think this offense has been the best thing that has happened to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George this season. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me? Do you think that the triangle offense is working wonders for this team? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day, and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.